Gilmore Girls, the false message communicated in the television show about social class by Macy Levick. The American dramedy Gilmore Girls was a very popular show with a wide demographic of viewers due to the relatable characters and episodes. The show ran for 7 seasons between the years 2000 and 2007. Although it is somewhat outdated like any show from the early 2000s, people today continue to watch reruns and stream the show. As relatable as the characters may seem, when their lifestyles are analyzed on a deeper level, it is apparent that many aspects are unrealistic considering the freedoms characters have despite their financial circumstances. The fantasy world portrayed in Gilmore Girls ultimately gives viewers a false perception of social class because financial issues never seem to be addressed on a more serious note, despite the fact that lack of money is what prompts the first episode. A key thing to know about Gilmore Girls, if you are unfamiliar with the show, is that a majority of the conflicts were driven from the generational tensions between Lorelai Gilmore and her mother, Emily. Lorelai got pregnant at 16 and chose to abandon her luxurious lifestyle with her parents to move to a town called Stars Hollow, where she worked at a local inn as a maid and eventually became manager. Lorelai and her daughter Rory lived very separate lives from Emily and Richard Gilmore until Rory was accepted into Chilton, a private high school, and that is where the show began. As much as Lorelai did not want to ask her parents for help, she did not have the financial means to pay for the tuition herself, so was able to bargain with her parents in order for Rory to get a great education. Believe it or not, this is one of the few times that Lorelai's financial situation is addressed, because once the deal is made, their life runs smoothly despite Lorelai's income. Ready? Lorelai rarely faces humiliation regarding her working class status because she experiences little restrictions. Somehow the duo lived in a gigantic house all by themselves that lacked nothing. The two ate junk food constantly, but not for the financial reasons one would think. They ordered takeout simply because their metabolism allowed it, and they wanted to rather than cooking, not because the cheaper, unhealthy option was all that could be afforded. Rory's perception of groceries in the show was so skewed that in one episode, when there were healthy groceries at the house, she thought that it meant her mother was struggling, which is the opposite of the case in a real working class family household. Also, the girls ate breakfast at Luke's Diner every morning. Their ability to eat there daily is confusing because typically working class people such as Lorelai wouldn't be able to afford that lifestyle. Even if it is just a cup of coffee or toast each morning, those things add up, especially when there are 2 mouths to feed. Besides their misleading living and eating situations, Rory and Lorelai also went backpacking through Europe for 3 months after Rory's high school graduation. Their trip had been planned for a while, however, it was never explained how Lorelai was able to afford a giant house, to eat out every night, then on top of that save for a very lengthy trip. Not to mention the huge question of how she was able to take off work for that extensive amount of time during the busy season. Aside from the obvious issue of these things not adding up for someone in Lorelai's financial position, the main problem with Lorelai's lifestyle was her ability to pick and choose when she wanted to utilize her parents' wealth. She did this a few times in the show as a whole when she needed to afford something on a larger scale, but that privilege was constantly there in her back pocket. This sent an unrealistic message because most working class families don't have the Emily and Richard Gilmore to fall back on in times of need. This normalization of Lorelai being able to pick and choose when she wanted wealth sent a potentially detrimental lesson to viewers, especially those who were younger and had little concept of money. According to the chapter, Lorelai was the anti-class hero that viewers looked up to, so while she did have many great qualities, she was also a role model who was influencing horrible spending habits to young adults. In any other world but a television show, her lifestyle would have been impossible to maintain without the constant help of Emily and Richard. Overall, Lorelai Gilmore's character spread a false message about social class because while she was defined as a working class single mother, she rarely experienced any restrictions in her life. When those restrictions did arise, she didn't have to take no for an answer but could call her mom and dad.